Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. Later on this afternoon, I am off to check out the latest action film, The Baker, starring Harvey Keitel and Ron Perlman. So what is the story of The Baker? Well, Ron Perlman plays a baker who's just trying to live a perfectly normal, average life. And then one day, his estranged son shows up with his daughter and asks him to babysit while he goes into the city to take care of some business. And wouldn't you know it, that business is with some very shady characters. Who's the boss? Harvey Keitel. So yes, some shady characters. When he doesn't show back up to pick up his daughter, Ron Perlman becomes concerned and goes looking for his son. Well, guess what? This baker is no ordinary baker. In fact, he may be closer to a butcher as he goes through every low-life piece of scum trying to find his son. Oh yeah, it looks like it's going to be one of them brutal beatdown action films starring one of my favorite actors, Ron Perlman. What I love about Ron Perlman is that he will take on the smallest, coolest little indie film and then show up in some huge blockbuster like, Pacific Rim or something like that. He's a very versatile actor and he just really goes off of how he feels about the script. So whenever I see him starring in something, I make it a point to get out and see it. So enough of me sitting here yammer-yamming, jabbering and jibber-jabbing. I gotta get out the door because it's time for me to go see The Baker. Welcome back, just getting home. And you know what, guys? This movie was okay. Not terrible, but not all that great either. Alright, so let's get into this, shall we? We're going to start things off with the negatives, and then we're going to move into the positives to end the video on the ever so important high note. One of the things that really bothered me in this film was it was, in my opinion, misadvertised with the trailer. Now, what I was kind of expecting was more of an old man John Wick styled action film. I thought we were going to see some good old-fashioned military style hand-to-hand combat and close proximities, some Bourne Identity kind of stuff. But while that was there, it was few and far between. The first and second act of this film really drag on. The second act does start to pick up about the halfway point, and then from there on out it does kind of have more of an action vibe to it. But if I had to put an actual label and genre on this film, I would stick it firmly in more of an action thriller, or actually, more in just the crime thriller category. It was more of a slow burn than it was a high-octane action film. Now, I do like a good slow burn, but unfortunately, the pacing in this film is a little slow at times, especially at that beginning point of the movie. It does have a lot of things to set up, and there is the whole thing about Ron Perlman trying to find his son, so obviously there's some on-the-ground PI style work going on of him going around questioning people. And sometimes those questionings, get him into fights. But again, those are kind of far and few between. And one in particular kind of bothered me too, because it was really dark and really hard to see what was going on. And by the sound of things, it was a pretty decent fight, but you don't really get to see all of it, which again really kind of bugs me. When you're seeing a movie that has, hand-to-hand type fighting in it, and that's really what it what you see the most of in the action, it's really annoying when one of the scenes is pretty much blacked out. Or at least it was hard to see in the theater I was in. Maybe that was it. I don't know. But anyways, those are the things that really bothered me. The acting in this film is fine. Everybody does a good job. There isn't really anything terrible. It's like I said, it's just a very slow burn. In my opinion, that was misadvertised as something that was going to be more of an old man John Wick thing. Alright, now into the positives. I did like the fact that I feel it handled aging and fighting in a very good way. I mean, Ron Perlman was not an unstoppable force in this movie. He was hard to deal with, but he wasn't out of his bounds. It wasn't something horribly unrealistic. He obviously was well trained in martial arts of some sort, and he knew exactly how to use them, even using more objects and things around him to his advantage. He does a lot of things where he wraps stuff up around his hands, to make his fists a lot stronger, things of that sort. And so I thought in that aspect the film did really excel. The acting is good. Ron Perlman is very convincing as always, especially as an aging, quiet, tough guy in this film. I thought that he did an outstanding job. In fact, the cast in this film is really good. The young lady that plays opposite the little girl, she doesn't really have much of a speaking part in the film, but she does a really good job conveying emotions in other ways. Everyone does a very solid job. And it was also nice to see old Harvey Keitel pop out. Even though he wasn't in the movie very long, he was the big baddie of the film, and he comes up every now and then, says some mean stuff, and then moves on. So anyways, guys, here's the big question. Do you go see this movie in theaters, or do you watch it at home? Well, personally, I would say if you're not a huge fan of a slow burn crime thriller with some pretty decent fight sequences, then I would say this is probably a good stream it at home for you. To have a chance to just kind of pause it during the slow moments so you can get up, get a drink or something and come back. Things of that sort. Not that this is a bad film, it just takes a good minute to really get going. It's one of those things where it's right when the movie is about to lose your attention, all of a sudden things start to pick up. So just wait for it, it's gonna happen. Alright guys, well that's all I have for you today. Thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.